In this video, you will see content literacy strategies incorporated into a third grade science unit on adaptations of plants and animals. I will address how I planned the unit, the content literacy strategies incorporated in my instruction, and the assessment of the unit. When planning this unit, I used our Georgia Science Standards on Plant and Animal Traits, developed a learning target, identified key vocabulary, planned lessons that incorporated literacy, found resources, considered the capabilities and needs of my classroom, and thought about how my students would be assessed. I teach an EIP classroom where 12 of my students are reading below grade level. I needed to plan lessons to strengthen their literacy skills and help them learn new content at the same time. I incorporated many content literacy strategies into my lessons. In this part of the video, you will see a knowledge rating activity that helped me assess my students' vocabulary knowledge, a close read that helped my students look closer at vocabulary and new concepts, a read aloud that engaged and motivated my students, and a creative writing that allowed students to apply their new knowledge. I wanted to see what vocabulary the students were already familiar with and which words we needed to focus on during the unit. So I began the unit with a vocabulary knowledge rating. From this activity, I discovered that most of my students had heard the vocabulary words before, but they were unable to read the words. We discussed these vocabulary words throughout the unit and even reviewed them in guided reading lessons. After explicit teaching of adaptations through the science textbook, PowerPoints, and discussion, students were given a close read on plant adaptations. We read the close read 3 times, first for understanding, second for key vocabulary, and third for answering questions. This passage was above my students' reading level, but by rereading it several times with specific tasks after each read, students were able to comprehend and identify key concepts. As part of a performance task, I read the book, What If You Had Animal Hair? This book made the students imagine themselves with some of the features of animals. Reading aloud allowed me to model good reading strategies and understanding of text. It also sparked motivation for the next lesson. You will see clips of me reading aloud the book here.
You woke up, the hair on your head wasn't yours. What if overnight a wild animal's hair grew in instead? To pay close attention to how the words are organized on this page. See if you notice anything about how the words are organized. Polar bear. A polar bear has a double coat of hair to keep it warm. There's a woolly undercoat close to the bear's skin. Above that is a top coat made of 6-inch long, stiff, oil-coated hairs. A polar bear's hair looks as white as Arctic snow because the top coat hairs are hollow and clear. They reflect the light just like snow. Fact, each May or June, a polar bear sheds its hair and grows a whole new coat in less than a month. If you had polar bear hair on your head, you could play outdoors in cold, wet weather and never need a hat. What do you notice? What do you notice about the text? From here to here, what are you noticing? And the pictures might help you. What do you notice, Anthony?
This side has the little cute little baby polar bears, and this side just has a parchment white hail.
Okay, so this side it's giving us the information about the adaptation of the polar bear's hair, and on this side it tells you what would happen if you had polar bear hair. So Luke's saying something. What'd you say, Luke?
Non-fiction, fiction.
Oh, so he's saying this part on this side is non-fiction and this part is fiction. Let's see if it continues throughout the book. Reindeer. A reindeer has a double coat too. It also has lots of hair, as many as 5,000 outer hairs per square inch of skin. Each long, stiff outer hair has a hollow core. These hairs trap air. In addition to keeping the reindeer warm, its hair helps this heavy animal float in the water. It helps the animal float in the water, it doesn't sink.
Because it's like 1,000 pounds or something.
It has lots of hair is what it said. If you had reindeer hair, swimming would always be easy, even in the roughest of waters. Did it follow the same pattern as the page before? We're getting some information about the adaptation, and then it tells us what would happen if we had that adaptation. A musk ox. A musk ox has the longest hair of any wild animal. Some hair are as long as 2 feet. Its shaggy coat hangs down to its hooves. The coat is also double thick and so tough it acts like a suit of armor. What's the adaptation of the musk ox's hair? Anthony?
It's big, colorful.
It's like a suit of armor is what it said to us.
It would
If you had musk ox hair, you could play outside day or night, in winter or summer, without worrying about frostbite, sunburn, or bug bites. We need some musk ox hair.
After reading the book, students were given a creative writing task of creating their wild self by adding animal features to themselves using the website buildyourwildself.com. After completing their wild self, I modeled how to write a paragraph about the adaptations of their wild self. Students were given a rubric of expectations to guide them as they wrote. This assignment allowed students to apply what they knew about animal adaptations into their writing. Each of the lessons described before were assessed in different ways. The knowledge rating and close read were formative assessments meant to inform me about the strengths and weaknesses of each student. The creative writing assignment was assessed by a rubric. The rubric allowed the students to be aware of my expectations for their writing. I was able to assess the students' writing ability with the rubric, but also their understanding of animal features and adaptations. A final summative assessment will be completed through Google Forms at the end of next week. This assessment will allow me to summarize what the students have learned in this unit. I have enjoyed implementing several literacy activities into my content area class. Teaching adaptations has never been this fun. I've seen how the students have been more engaged in their learning and applied their reading and writing skills and strategies into their science content. In the future, I would like to implement more cooperative grouping activities to support my instruction. I look forward to integrating more literacy activities into the content area classes.